So I would start by saying, as you guys mentioned, it's all about, a process. It's all about the life cycle management and the ability to start your journey by defining a specific API, a specific operation, mature that enough in order to push that forward. As then you can see here in an example from the Akana lifecycle management, I'm looking at a specific API. This API goes to some kind of a pet store website. In this case, the format is a Swagger format, but again, any textual format is a non-issue in that sense. And you can see the different operations that I have for my site, for my different pages. If I'll expand one of them, as an example, you can see the body of any request. You can see also the expected responses that I want to see here. And I can also manually kind of run my unit test here, invoke the API and get the different responses, see, in a different format way, the response that I'm getting here. The question is like, what am I doing with it? When I have a rich set of, APIs that as a creator, I want to push them forward and I want to take them to the next step. I have different types of operations, as you can see, from the post to the get, different activities that I want to promote as part of my life cycle. And in this case, this is where, the power of the joint portfolio here and the ability to run an example of stress test, to be able to upload any of these APIs to the Perfecto environment, again, from the Akana to the Perfecto environment, and to be able to trigger execution at scale, because that's what Perfecto is all about. It's all about, continuous testing, the ability to test, different aspects of your application, of your digital service at scale, while extending the coverage as much as possible. So talking about the same API, let's say, set of tests or a job that can be triggered or run from Perfecto. This job includes, in my example here, 3 different tests that I've been uploading to Perfecto. In the example, you can see here the graphical kind of editor that we have, including the ability to run the authentication flow that is associated with some APIs, all the way to be able to validate the operation status and make sure that, the HTTP or HTTPS response is set as expected. The beauty here is that I don't have to go and click one by one. I'm setting for myself different type of jobs that I can execute in different ways or formats from Perfecto. So I will trigger it manually, from here. I will run this example on a browser just to show, in the UI, the response validation. But of course, majority of any API test would run headless. So this is just for the sake of the example. But again, at scale, we're not expecting any type of testing of the API itself. If I'm looking at, some of the results that I can actually get here, the interesting part is that if I look at this job, I can actually schedule the stress test that I'm looking for. In my case, I'm executing this test every hour. I can change it and run it even every 15 minutes or 30 minutes. And I run it every day. That gives me a better kind of notion about the stability, the maturity of any API, and my ability to promote it as part of the life cycle. Again, this is an internal scheduler that the tool has, but the same would go for my ability also to integrate that with CI. So I can run it from Jenkins, from TeamCity. I can just take the command line and embed it in any kind of shell command and run it even from my console. The interesting part on the other side, and Mukesh talked a lot about the analytics, is the ability really to consume the result and understand what can I actually do from here. Now, in this view, you can see that I'm running in my environment tens of thousands of test cases from different angles of the product. As Eran mentioned earlier, the API test is one layer among multiple layers that I have in my testing: functional, non-functional, performance, monitoring, and of course the API. So I have examples of activities or tests that I'm conducting, and based on the test, status that I'm getting, I can also, decide whether I need to conduct some actions on specific APIs that are broken, or alternatively promote them to the next layer. So we can see here in the CI job dashboard that we have a job that is being executed as I triggered it. We can easily, double click on some of the tests, either from here or from the heat map. For example, in this case, for the pet store test, I can see that I have APIs that are stable, while I have others that are not really stable. If we look at this example, and we're taking screenshots just to validate, some aspects, you can see that this response is getting, 200, and accordingly give us green light to promote these tests to the next level as part of our life cycle. The ability to slice and dice the data on different views, just like this one. The ability, of course, from here to get different views or screenshots or other logs that are required to complement that in case that we're running in the front end with the browser. But again, majority of the work will be conducted headless. Still, we have the ability to retrieve different logs, network files, and others. And the network file actually is a good example for things that we're looking at. The example for that would be the ability to feedback, the Akana system with some HAR files. The ability to track on the network level different activities that are happening, different calls, and by that, use it as kind of a new discovery model that will keep feeding, from Perfecto to Akana and back, and make sure that we're closing the loop in a continuous mode, as Eran mentioned. And by that, I'll hand it over back to you, Eran. It's all about the continuity and the ability to measure that over time and be able to track, adjust, promote, or disqualify specific APIs and activities based on the status that we're getting. That's the secret behind continuous testing and what we're doing together with our customers to make sure that we mature their DevOps activity that includes those different layers that we've covered here today.